So yeah, we're gonna get into this high school discussion here about basketball. We got the playoffs coming up very soon. Not a lot of stuff happening in Stark County recently. Mitch, there was only what 2 games on Tuesday night, but it was Lake and then Hoover were playing, not against each other though.
You also had the Green Bulldogs playing the Akron Hoban Knights at Hoban. I mean, there was a number of schools playing last night in Akron or in the area, Mitch. Green played in Akron. They played Akron Hoban. I know, obviously, right now in your area, basketball a little closer, some big games that we need to get to so quickly. St. Thomas Aquinas, Mitch, picked up a big win last night to improve to 13-7, 87-34. They win it over the Academy for Urban Scholars. You look at some of these other teams here, Northwest beating Triway 53-52. And then scrolling at some of these other ones, Massillon was in action last night, defeating Wadsworth 68-58. Big win for the Tigers. The Perry Panthers, Mitch, go on the road and beat a very tough Alliance Aviators team. This is a big win for Perry, especially as the playoffs are approaching. Not only that, Mitch, you look in the box score, Xander Sabin is back. He had been out with a wrist injury, Mitch. He actually hit 1,000 career points last Friday night against Jackson. And the story then broke afterwards that he had come back earlier than anticipated, Mitch. There was belief he was out for the year, cut his own cast off to return to action to play his final senior season of high school basketball. Sabin last night for Perry, he had 21, but Perry with a huge win last night, Mitch. I mean, that's an impressive win. The Hoover Vikings defeat Walsh Jesuit. That's a huge win for Hoover, Mitch. Walsh Jesuit is a team that's highly ranked in the tournament coming up in their respective district. Hoover wins against Walsh 49-47. West Collins for the Vikings last night had a pretty good game. He had 11, Walker 14 for the Vikings. So a big win there. We had Lake and Louisville, I believe, with Louisville winning by a point. And then for the most part, I don't want to steal your thunder because I have a couple other scores here that kind of bounce between areas and areas. But one game that I'm sure you might have a little more on is Canton South and Fairless. But I know there was a phenomenal game played last night that we're going to talk about too.
Yeah, we were out in Sugar Creek. If you watched it on Big Time Sports, obviously you can go check it out now on BigTimeSportsOhio.com. The replay between myself and Matt Ritzert broadcasting Garaway and Malvern, the two of the top teams in each IVC division, and Malvern representing the North with a 61-58 victory in overtime, a game in which Garaway jumped out to a 15-6 lead in the first quarter. They looked like they were going to dominate the rest of the way. They were draining threes. A lot of their offense was built on these really quick passes in between their players compared to Malvern, who, especially for the majority of the game, looked like they were kind of just playing isolation basketball, trying to play one-on-one with defenders and try to drive to the hoop and create shots, whereas Garaway was just zipping it all around. But somewhere in the second quarter, Malvern's the two of their top scorers got off to a bad start as well. Mitch Miner got off to a slow start, made 3 threes in the second quarter and route to a 22-point performance, 6 3-pointers on the game, including Mitch, a three with about 14 or so seconds left that looked like it was going to give Malvern a 2-point lead and the win, but then Garaway drove back down and Jensen Garber made a tying layup with 2 seconds remaining. Nobody called timeout on that inbound, so then the game went into overtime. And then Jalen Barino got into some foul trouble early on, had 3 first-half fouls, had 4 in the third quarter, and then was able to score a number of times throughout the second half, 15 points in the second half, 17 points in total, as well as overtime, I should mention as well. And then Rodney Smith came up big a number of times late for the Hornets, 13 points. And then, it was a very good victory for the Hornets. They've already clinched the IVC North. This is their 4th year in a row they've gotten it. So they will now take part in this Saturday's IVC Showcase, which I will be at with Troy Richardson here on Big Time Sports. You can check out that broadcast in the next coming days. So they had a bit of a situation involving the IVC South today, because with that loss and Sandy Valley winning 61-47 over Tusky Valley Tuesday night, Sandy Valley matched Garaway at 9-3 in the IVC South for the year, which means that the Pirates and the Cardinals will share the IVC South championship. And the IVC athletic directors came together on Wednesday and they decided to give that last spot of the IVC Showcase to Sandy Valley for a couple of reasons. Number one, I was given word by one of the athletic directors that they did not want to cause a clashing of opponents that could potentially meet up in the upcoming postseason tournament, with a number of these teams clustered together in divisions 3 and 4. Second thing was Garaway already played Malvern. They could have played him again, but Malvern and Sandy Valley have not played each other yet this season, and it's a very interesting match because Sandy Valley has been a team in the last couple of years, been very middle of the road in the South ever since they moved from the North to the South. But this was a year where a lot of their guys, their seniors, were able to step up. Dante Fayello had a good run. Jordan Wigfield and Lucas Gillen have stepped up many times this season. Each of them had 14 points on Tuesday night for the win. And it's going to be interesting to see how they stack up with a Malvern team that has looked dominant, except for one game this season, 12-0 in IVC play, 19-1 on the year, especially when you consider, and I had this on the last blurb of my article that I ended up writing here on Wednesday morning. The South Division in the IVC has dominated the North in the last 3 IVC showcases. They've gone 19-2. And I believe one of those victories was Sandy Valley's when Sandy Valley was in the North back in 2019. It's a very interesting scenario because a lot of it is kind of like a big school versus small school sort of thing. The North kind of has a lot of those smaller programs, not smaller programs, but smaller populated schools compared to the likes of Garaway, Indian Valley, Sandy Valley, Claymont, Ridgewood. I mean, we're not talking like Division I teams in here, but these are still pretty big schools in our area compared to others. So now we'll have the matchups there on Saturday. Newcomerstown playing Ridgewood, Connaughton versus Claymont, East Canton versus Tusky Valley. Central Catholic will play Highland, which is a very interesting one. Strasburg versus Indian Valley, and that's interesting because as someone with experience at Strasburg, we don't play Indian Valley a lot in certain things. And then Buckeye Trail, who had a very good breakout season, will play the Pirates. So we'll see all those matchups there. And I'm curious to see what Sandy Valley will be able to, or what Malvern will be able to bring to Sandy Valley on Saturday.
First off, congrats to Sandy Valley. First league title in 18 years. That's a long time, a very long time. So kudos to Sandy Valley in a huge win for their program, Mitch. Also for Malvern, it helps when you have a minor, last name minor on the team. You had Michael Minor there for a few years, who was phenomenal. Mitch Minor there. I mean, just bucket getters is what you could call them. And by the time we record next week, Mitch, we're going to be talking about either an outright Federal League champion or co-Federal League champions. And that brings me to this point, is I just want to remind the viewers that the Glen Oak Golden Eagles host the Green Bulldogs Friday night. The winner will clinch at least a share of the Federal League title. That is the big time sports game of the week for Stark County. Replay times Friday night, 11 p.m. and Saturday at 10 a.m. So make sure that you can go back and watch that game. Mitch, a win there. Somebody's saying they're a Federal League champ, and then they have to look over their shoulder to see what is going on at the field house for between Jackson and Camp McKinley. A Jackson win means a Jackson and either Green or Glen Oak tie for the Federal League title. A McKinley win means that Green or Glen Oak will win the Federal League title outright. So we're going to be talking about either one or two teams win the Fed next week, as well as the girls tournament starting next week, Mitch. This is going to get very exciting here in the next couple of weeks. There's some teams that have some tough non-conference games the week before the tournament for boys. I know Jackson plays Shaker Heights and Medina, two teams that are ranked high in their respective districts. A lot of other teams doing the same, kind of get battle tested. So not only are we going to talk about the IVC showdown going on this weekend that you're going to be on the call for, that I highly recommend people go watch, or the Federal League champion, we're going to be talking about high school tournament basketball for the girls and where some of these boys teams are at, and, you know, who's kind of getting hot at the right time, Mitch, because as you know, in sports, whoever's hot at the right time typically is the team that's toughest to beat. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.